Hi guys, Andrea Mills here. Thank you guys for coming over today. We're going to talk today about toy organization. This is something that quite a few of you were asking me about, especially with Christmas coming up soon, how to keep toys organized. I'm going to start out with a few observations that I made earlier in my parenting career, back when I just had maybe 1 or 2, 3 kids in there. We had an armoire that we kept in the living room with our TV in it, and underneath of the TV were 2 drawers, and that's where we kept most of the toys. And I noticed that, we would pile all the toys in there, and when the kids wanted to play, they would just go to the drawer and they'd open it up and they'd start digging through and they'd throw all the toys out and they'd make this giant mess all the time. But they didn't actually really play with most of it. It was mostly just digging through it to see what was in there. And then my mom, she had a lot of toys at her house for the kids to play with, and I would kind of see the same thing there. And one day, just watching how they operated, I started to realize the kids will play with anything. So whatever is available, they're going to play with. So the more stuff you have, the more they're going to dig through, because it's kind of like the idea that they're not necessarily wanting to play with all those things. They just want to know what their options are. So they take everything out and they look at it and they throw it aside and they want to keep digging and digging and just see what's there. And then they'll eventually pick something out to play with. But in the meantime, they've made this giant mess. So when I realized that they'll play with anything, and the reason they're dragging it all out is just to assess their options. If I give them fewer options, they're just as happy to choose something and play with it, but they don't have to go through nearly as many choices to find what they want. So kind of imagine it like when you go to like Baskin Robbins with the 31 flavors, you have to look through a lot more to choose something. But if you go to maybe a smaller place that only has 3 options, you still make your choice and you still feel happy about your choice. It just didn't take you nearly as long to make the choice. So that's kind of what my attitude became with toys for the kids. Was they're going to be happy playing even if they had nothing but sticks and rocks. They'd have a good time playing with it. So kids just like to play. It doesn't really matter what it is. So let's limit the options so that we don't overwhelm them with stuff that they have to dig through, and we don't overwhelm the house with having just so much stuff to choose from that it gets all over the place and most of it doesn't actually get played with anyways. My next thing that I have tried to incorporate was ways to keep them from dumping what we did decide to keep. So when the boys were littler, my older boys, we had a cupboard that we bought like at a home improvement store type thing, one of those things that you put together like those shelves, like bookshelves, but it was a cupboard with doors, and then Tom put a padlock on it. And we stored all the toys inside of it, and then they couldn't get into it without me getting it. So I would unlock it. If they want to play with something, I'd unlock it, and we'd get out whatever they wanted. And then they had to put back what they already had out. We get out the new thing, and it was kind of like a library, like you take your books back and then you get new books. And nobody has a problem with that system because it's the system that it is. And I think we're in the habit of kids just having free reign of everything, that it seems kind of strange to operate on that sort of a system, but they were happy with it, and I was a lot happier with it too. So that's kind of what I've tried to do a little bit with still how we do things. We don't have room for a toy cupboard like that anymore, and things have just changed in the house. So that's not how we operate now, but that is something that we did for a while. So as our family has grown, and at first we only had boys, so we had one set of toys that they all liked, but then as we started having girls, there was new types of things that people started buying for them or that they wanted. So we had a lot more toys in our house just because there was a more variety of types of children who wanted to play with them. So a couple of years ago, I guess probably sometime before we did the boys' room downstairs, I decided that I wanted to kind of get a better handle on the magnitude of the toys that we had collected. Even though I feel like we had a lot less than a lot of other families, it still felt like it was starting to kind of snowball out of control. So the side note, I was watching Marie Kondo talking about organizing and some of the differences between American families and Japanese families. And the one thing that I really took note of was, or one of the things I took note of was that she said that American families have way more toys than Japanese families. So she said even though the kind of the overall amount of clutter in houses was probably the same in both countries, the amount of toys that Americans had was significantly more than what Japanese people have. So I just thought that was an interesting thing. So so again, even though I think we probably had, I know we had a lot less toys than a lot of other families that we know had, it still was too much for me. So what I did one day was I sat the kids down and we started making a list of the types of toys that we had. So we had a wooden train set, and we have our Matchbox cars, and we have dolls, and we have, you know, play kitchen stuff, and just, you know, whatever it is. We made a list of all those types of things. Then what I did was I asked the kids that if they only got to keep one, and I assured them we weren't only going to keep one, but if they had to only pick one thing off that list to keep, what would it be? And I got feedback from all of the kids about what their favorite was, their favorite type of toys. And then we kind of went through the whole list in order after that, like, okay, so what's your second favorite and your third favorite, so that I could get a feel for what would be the most useful, the most valuable toys for us to keep. So right away, that eliminated some whole categories. We gave away our wooden train set, which we had a lot of those little cute railroad tracks. I had probably a harder time with it than the kids did because I thought they were so cute, but those tracks that you put all together and had the little signs and the different trains that were magnetic and stuck together. But we had a friend whose dad actually was a train engineer, and their family was really into trains, so we gave all of our train set to that family, and it went to a good home. Everybody was happy, but we eliminated a lot of categories of toys at that point because it was obvious from talking to the kids that certain things were a lot funner for them to play with, a lot more fun, however you say it, to play with than other things. So it was just a no-brainer to get rid of certain categories. Once we got that far, then we kind of decided where we wanted to keep the toys. So we decided to keep all the Lego blocks in the boys' room and the Matchbox cars, because that's where they would lay out their little map thing that we have. So they had kind of an open space on the floor in there. So it made sense to put the toys like that in there because they kind of need to spread out with those things. We do keep the girls' blocks in there with the boys, so they have their little Hello Kitty sets and everything, but they're just mixed in with all the other Lego blocks. And then if the girls get Matchbox cars, they just go in with the boys' cars downstairs. Then the girls have the play kitchen in their room, so it's obvious that the all the play food and things like that are going to go in their room. And I think we kept they just had a little bit more room to put stuff, so we keep like the toy laptops and cell phones and things like that go in there, and all of the stuffed animals that aren't like the ones that they actually want to sleep with are in the girls' room. So we decided basically where we wanted to keep the toys, which room we wanted to keep them in. We do keep some in the living room, but very few. So we have a basket full of blocks in the living room, the kind of chunkier, like Duplo blocks stay in the living room so that when they're just playing in there and they want to grab something to play with, they can have those. We also have one more thing in the living room, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So we decided where we want to keep the toys. With the boys' room, I didn't actually have the organization system in place yet, like where we were going to keep them. We didn't really get rid of any of the Legos because we didn't need to. The Matchbox cars, how we handled that was I piled them all up, and I had the boys, at the time that we did that part, I don't think any of the girls had any cars and they didn't care. So I just had the older boys sit around in a circle around the cars, and I had a little basket, and I said, I want you to pick your favorite car out of the pile and put it back in the basket. And so we just kept going around, taking turns doing that until the basket was full. and then we donated the rest of the cars, and that was an easy way. This is kind of my method with everything. The first time I did this was organizing our church nursery years ago, because there were just so many toys, and I told all the kids there, I'm like, I don't know what's fun and what's not fun. So I had all the kids come in and I said, all right, what's the funnest toy in here? And they told me this is the funnest one. So I was like, okay, that's staying. And we went through each thing, you know, keep showing me the favorites and the best until we had all the best stuff. So it was not hard at all to get rid of the rest of the stuff because it wasn't the best stuff. And that's kind of how I do it with my own kids. And we go through this every once in a while to weed out some things. But let's keep the favorites so that no one feels bad about getting rid of the rest of it, because we already know that we have the best parts, or the best things that we really like are staying. So it makes it a lot easier to part with everything. Once we went through all the different toys kind of in that way, then we figured out exactly what sort of a storage system we were going to use. So for the cars, I bought a wall cabinet that was meant to display small cars or other collectibles like that, and we hung that up in the boys' room so all the cars can, you know, look nice and up on the shelf. I tried a couple of different things with the Legos, but I ended up just buying a it was like a shoe storage bench, and we put it under their window so it looks like a window seat sort of, but it opens up and then all the blocks are inside. When they want to play, they just open up the lid and dig around and build till their hearts are content. In the girls' room, they had a lot more dumpable items than the boys' room did. There's just, you know, their little dollhouse toys. There's the little dolls and the clothes and the furniture and all that, and it's so easy just to dump it all. So I had Tom put up a shelf for me that I think it's at about 6 foot up on the wall, 6 foot from the ground. And I already had a bunch of Dollar Tree baskets, so I made labels for each one, and we sorted the toys into the different categories. So the play food is in one, and the dollhouse stuff is in one, and the stuffed animals are in one, and they're up on the shelf where the littler kids can't get them down by themselves, so they have to have one of us big people reach up there and get it for them, so that they can't just like dump everything and make a giant mess. Those baskets are a little shallow, so I think I might eventually get some taller baskets, because there's plenty of space to put some taller ones up there, and then we would have a little bit more room for putting things in the baskets. Then this has changed. If you've watched the bedroom tour videos that I've done for the kids' bedrooms, you will have already seen this, but something that has changed since then is we had two drawers under the crib in the girls' room that they came from when we had a built-in closet in there. My grandpa had built these drawers for us. So when we tore all that out, I was feeling a little sentimental and I didn't want to get rid of the drawers. So Tom put some wheels on the bottom, and now we put them under the crib, so we just pull them out from there. So now we have all of our dress-up clothes stored in those drawers, so they can pull those out. And we also try to keep things like the toy swords and that kind of stuff in with the dress-up clothes. Then when it comes to personal things that belong to an individual child, they keep those things, the boys do, in their beds. They have their little shelves, and they don't necessarily keep a lot of things, because this is something that we have practiced all through their lives, of learning how to assess what we really want to keep, and, you know, freely getting rid of the things that we don't need anymore. So they don't accumulate a lot. They regularly, just today, Eden brought me a doll and said she's ready to donate this doll because she doesn't really play with it anymore. And she picked out some clothes for it that were not her favorites anymore, so that the doll would be able to go to the secondhand store without being naked. But she wasn't going to give up necessarily one of her favorite outfits for the doll. So she got the doll dressed and combed its hair, and then we put it in the donation bag. And this was completely unprompted by me. I didn't have anything to do with it, but this is just the habit I've always tried to instill in them, is that we want to keep the stuff that we really value and appreciate and need, not the things that we don't really care about, that just kind of get in our way and then we have to clean up all the time. We have a big basket that we keep out in the shed for all of the like balls that we use for, like kickballs and the basketball and footballs and things like that. I feel like I would like to come up with a little bit better system for that, but I haven't done that yet. We're just right now, well, sort of right now, building a bike shelter for our bikes. So we have a bike rack that we park the bikes in, and we just poured a cement pad for it, and then Tom's going to build kind of a lean-to thing on it. So I'm thinking I might somehow incorporate some storage for the sleds and the balls and things in that bike area, but that hasn't happened yet. Another idea I had for our sleds was maybe getting one of those like things I've seen in catalogs for pool toys, like for those inflatable mattresses and things that you can float in the pool. I've seen they have different racks for those, so I thought maybe something like that would be good for the to keep all our sleds in, because they kind of get spread all over the yard during the winter time. We keep, you know, all the like bigger toy trucks and things like that, we just keep those on the sandbox. Sidewalk chalk we keep in a bucket out on the porch so that it's outside when they want to use it. And then one last category that I can think of, if I forget anything or you have any questions, please, as always, feel free to ask me in the comments, and I'll try to I will tell you. I won't try. I'll tell you how we handle other things that I forgot to mention here. I think I'm covering most of it though. But the one category that I haven't addressed yet is stuff that comes in, like when they go to birthday parties, or we have a birthday party and there's all the little things that come in the goodie bags, or if we go to a fast food place and they get the kids meal and it comes with a little toy. There's always that kind of stuff coming into the house, and it doesn't really have a place. So my solution to that was to have a basket that we call the Toy Motel. And I brought my Toy Motel in here for you right now to see what it's currently looking like. This is one of my Dollar Tree baskets that we keep like all sorts of other stuff in. And then I labeled it just like I did my other baskets. The girls' room baskets, I have a label on the side because that's the side that sticks out. But this one goes under our TV credenza in the living room. And we have one for the Duplo blocks, and then this one's the Toy Motel. So this is where all the random stuff that they bring home lives. And we call it the Toy Motel because it's where you go check in for a little while and you stay for a little while, but then you check back out again. And so that's one of the ways I've helped with the kids of being okay with the fact, or understanding the fact that we're going to take these things into our lives for a little while and enjoy them, but then they're going to go away. So no one feels sad when things disappear from the Toy Motel. When I get tired of, you know, seeing them, or they've been around for a while, I'll either throw them away, or if it's something good enough, I might put it in the donation bag. But anyways, it's just the process. It's the process that all the kids are used to, that they play with it, and then one day it's just not there anymore. And you know what? They don't even remember, because there's so many other fun things to do that it just kind of goes away without any big deal about it. When it comes to buying new toys, which, you know, I just went and did most of our Christmas shopping recently. And when it comes to buying new toys for the kids, I always am thinking to myself, how are we going to live with this? Like, where is it going to go? And maybe I might not have an exact idea in mind, but I want to have a very good general plan before I buy something, because it's not fun for anybody to get some big new thing and bring it home, and it's like you open it up and oh wow, that's amazing, but then what the heck do we do with it? So I try really hard to think those things through before I purchase something. And if the kids get gifts from other people that are not gonna fit with our way of doing things, we kind of treat them like we do the toys in the Toy Motel, that the kids can... Hey buddy, can you close that door for a minute?
Can I help you?
I'm just making a video, but you can come in here and hang out with me. Anyways, we treat those things...
Can I help you?
Well, how do you help me make a video?
Okay.
You want to sit here on my lap while I talk to everyone? Okay. Alright. Well, look right in here. That's where they all are. Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
There you go. So we treat it like we do the things in the toy motel. So if they got something that is not going to fit with our organizing situation, or just, you know, it's not going to fit within the boundaries that we have set for where we're going to store toys, then they'll play with them for a little while. And, you know, I'm saying like a month or something.
Look, there's a present right there and one right there.
But then they move along
Whose
to...
presents are those?
That one's Sophia's and that one's Eden's.
Which one is for me?
Yours hasn't come in the mail yet. I think I'm losing track of what I was saying. Anyways, we donate them. And there's been times when I felt kind of bad about it, but I like to take time when it's not a gift giving season to kind of talk with, not directly with people who might buy gifts like that for the kids, but in an indirect way, talk about, you know, how we're trying to organize things and we're really trying to get rid of big stuff and things like that, so that I just work it into the conversation that this is how we're handling our situation, so that hopefully it helps those people know not to buy things for us that might not be able to stay. And if someone asks me what to get the kids for something, I try to be practical about it, like not telling them some, you know, big extravagant thing that I don't want to live with. I try to tell them, like, you know, books are always good, although I've been getting rid of books too, but I really prefer to have them get consumable gifts. So treats that they can eat or share with somebody, or you know, coloring books and things like that we can use and then they'll be gone, or new crayons and markers and things like that. And something my mother-in-law did 1 year for each one of the kids' birthdays, she took them to a play. So on their birthday, whatever play was being shown at the Civic Center thing, she would take them to that play and have a special day out with them. Another year she took them each to a movie, which was fun because that's not something we do a lot with the kids, because it is such an expensive, you know, outing for us, that it was really special for them. So I try to encourage that kind of gift giving if possible, to do something with the kids or give them something consumable, so that we don't have to figure out how to live with something long term. I would never say to someone, we're going to get rid of that, or please don't buy us that, because you're being noisy here. Because ultimately this is about loving the other person, and they're trying to love us by giving this thing to us, even if sometimes it's not exactly what we would like. So I would rather just accept it, whatever we're given, and then just deal with it however we need to deal with it when the time comes. And hopefully they don't bring it up, and so we don't have to tell them, you know what, we got rid of that thing. But I don't think I would lie about it either. I wouldn't lie about it. I would just be honest about the fact that the kids really enjoy playing with it for a while, but we just didn't have any place to put it. So we gave it to so-and-so, or we donated it, or whatever happened to it. So, yes, that's what I can think of right now to talk about toy organization. So again, if you have any questions about anything else that I might have forgotten, please ask them. And I guess that's it. We'll talk to you guys again soon.